Have you ever questioned everything you ever learned until now? You are not alone. Welcome to Mystical Mavericks, a tribe that embraces your uniqueness and superpower. Discover how you can access your innate gifts and create a reality of fulfillment, purpose, and passion. Are you ready to go within to win? Discover the keys to success on The Mystical Mavericks Show.
Namaste, divine love, everyone. Really grateful that you are in the listening mode with us today, and we have a very special episode with a very special guest. And I want to make sure that we set up a tone for this episode. And so if you can, close your eyes for just a second and simply just be present. So you'll be able to attune to our next guest wisdom about success, about happiness, about self-actualization. So let's tune in together. Lota Samasta Sukino Bhavantu Loka Samasta Sukino Bhavantu. May all being be at peace. May all being be free. So welcoming our very special friend. His name is Scott O. And Scott O is the director-in-chief of Inc. magazine. So he's got a big job to do. And today is going to offer his wisdom and share his story, how powerful this story is going to be able to unlock so many of us, those who are seeking happiness and freedom and success. So just be so present for Scott O. Thank you. And welcome everyone who is listening to Scott O. Scott O. The name is just sparks itself up. And it's
That's because my full name isn't pronounceable, so you just have to go with
no, but I mean it's perfect for you. I mean it's perfect. Scott O is a very successful person as the person, but is also much more than this successful person, and he is actually has a very high position and for Inc. magazine, which we'll discover along the way. And I'm so excited about this conversation and this connection. Thank you, Scott O, for being so present with us today. Namaste.
My pleasure.
Wow. Look at those eyes. So if you do watch this, though, please, my friends, turn off this cell. You know, this is why it's called a cell phone, because it's a prison. A cell. So take it off, put it away. I want you to be present with us, being here now, which is where the truth is at. So let's go and let's do this together. And so, Scott, how did it all started? How did you grow up? How did it feel for you growing up? Take us to a little bit of a journey, you as a child for a start, and perhaps we'll discover what came through as your belief systems and what made you make some decision later on in your life. So perhaps a childhood story to start to spark this conversation.
Um, sure. I think that might be a little boring for folks, but you grow up, right? Everyone grows up thinking how they grow up is normal because you don't know anything else necessarily. I grew up in a small community outside of New York City, within a family that was fairly prominent in our town, but was also um, uh, suffered from a lot of addictions. So I had a father who was an alcoholic, quite violent, emotionally and physically. And that obviously, I knew was not like other people necessarily grew up, but I didn't really, you know how much of an impact it had. I think it took a really long time for me to figure out that environment actually colored every interaction I had with every person, particularly men and men in positions of power. I was always in an adversarial place with them. It created some, after the fact, long years, decades after the fact, coming to an understanding of having lived with PTSD from it, chronic PTSD, and anxiety disorder and things like that. And like I said, this sort of belief that I didn't fit in, that any interaction I was going to have, people were prejudging me, and not well, right? So not prejudging me like, oh, there's a great guy, but prejudging me in the way that I think my father judged me, in the way my father encouraged others to judge me, right? So I would say I had what you might call terrible self-esteem.
Wow. We nails some deep nails in there, and we thank you for tearing up the bandit, Scott, because very few are capable of doing this right off the bat. I mean, you don't even know me. You've seen me for 15 minutes, you know what I'm saying? And for you to be able to be here present and sharing this with me, with us, with the world, it's a big deal.
Well, it may be so. I don't see it that way. What I think, and this actually applies to my professional life too, is that I think, being honest and being authentic is the appropriate thing, because people can learn from that. They realize they're not alone in that. They realize that the road they've traveled, someone else might have, right? And so I understand some people might like to keep that hidden. I've just, for whatever reason, always been of the mind that sharing knowledge is better than withholding it.
Well, and you acknowledged what you just shared. What transpired to this, Scott, is it has nothing to do with the book you've read, or the mountains that you climb in Himalayas, or the ceremonies, or whatever it is that you've done as experiential things in here in this lifetime. It has to do with tapping in directly to your own source knowledge, which is true knowledge, which is direct knowledge. And I feel that this is what's missing on this path of success, that we're so turned on by being so much outside of ourselves and seeking this thing, this bells and whistles of this, hey, this is going to help me, this is going to relieve me, this drug is going to make me feel better, whatever that is, this conference on these next things, this millions of dollars. But you straight up, you have learned from direct your own self. And this is so deep and so beautiful and so true that it becomes like a little cloud in the air. And you're right, it's very light when we found out that this knowledge is all you need truly to pursue your purpose and to be successful and to discover that what you are in so many aspects of yourself. So when you talk about being authentic, you say honest authenticity. So share with us like this element of perhaps stopping everything that you're doing right now, if somebody's watching this and they're out there really working hard, share this part of authenticity, because I do believe very much the same thing as well. What you share about being honest, be honest with yourself. Can you develop that thought a little bit, because it's so beautiful?
So I wouldn't say that I understand how to always be honest with myself, right? I think there are a lot of things, the way someone else might see me, I believe is entirely different than the way I see myself. So we only have our own perceptions, but I think, when I think about it, it's like, you're right that it's direct experience, that no training that made me think that way, whether that's professional, as a journalist, right, or an editor, a media person, or as someone in therapy. That did not come from that, but somehow I just understood that by sharing aspects of myself, in perhaps uncomfortable aspects of myself, it would allow other people to be more comfortable, I think.
Wow.
And I think that, I think that has served me better professionally than personally, because sometimes personally, you don't want to, well, I'm not going to get involved with that guy. But ultimately, it's, it's one of those things. What other way is there to be? I don't know how else to be. Other people will be different. Other people will take different approaches. But for me, it just, it comes from a place of like, I'm no better than anyone else. I don't think I had it worse than anyone else. I think all of our challenges are relative, right? Little challenges that you might have had seem big. Big challenges that someone else might have had don't seem as big. So there's no sort of scale system, right? And people just are the way they are, and sort of I take that at face value. I never thought about it like that, but so yeah. I think that's it.
So sweet, so sweet. Oh my goodness. How did you then overcame those doubts and fears, those traumas? And we don't have to go deep in there, because I really want to go to what your success is like today and the things that you achieved along the way, with perhaps sharing that mindset. So I mean, did you seek a doctor? Did you do certain practices? Or, I mean, what happened that you unlock yourself from that trauma?
Yeah. So I wish I had a simple answer for that. I think it's a combination of things, right? There's never one, magic potion or silver bullet. I think there were a couple of people around the periphery of me growing up who represented other paths than the one I was on, and I saw lives that were more comfortable, right, or ones that I would have liked to exist in. Maybe it's like, gosh, I wish they would adopt me, kind of thing. I think I think I had some gifts as well. I was quite a skilled artist, and so I had a creativity that other people recognized, a verbal ability as well that let me be a writer, and I just got nice feedback in that way. So it just gave me these little glimmers of hope. In other ways, I think I was just quite adversarial with the relationship I was in, right? Like, I had to get out of it. Oh, you're telling me I can't have this job? Well, to hell with you. I'm going to get that job, kind of thing, right? And I think that's a less healthy place, right? But it was sort of like a fire in the belly kind of thing. But at the same time, I say all of those things, I also wonder if I didn't feel as fettered as I have through most of my life, how much more success I could have had. I have a son, an 11-year-old son now.
Luca.
I'm trying to raise him very differently than the way I was raised. And he's a super bright kid. I would love to see how, far in the way that's appropriate to him, he can go without any of the chains that I felt like I was carrying, or didn't even feel like I was carrying, but was carrying without knowing it.
Was carrying without knowing it. You clearly broke limitations. I mean, this is unbelievable, because most people have to go through many things to clear the walls in the mind, but you did it through that experience. You really did it through yourself. So I think what I heard, and correct me, the power of association. So if you're listening to this, you're listening to Scott, and his message right now is so profound and true and pure. Association, if you don't like the things that's coming into your life, or the environment that you're in, you got to get out of the comfort zone. It says uncomfortable. It says association. Those are the principles of success. And so you must get out. You must seek a different environment. And if there's that one person in your life that you feel is hired or got the things that you want in your life, connect with that person more, be with that, live with that person more. So this was incredible. And so then you said you have gifts. This is what we're getting into, the entree of this conversation, is this meat portion, right? It's like you have gifts, and you know how you have gifts as a child, and you felt you didn't fit in this world. This is where the mystical mavericks come in. And so you didn't fit in this world, but yet you uncover and discover those gifts, and you pursued those gifts no matter how they saw you, no matter the judgment, no matter what the society was saying. You involved your instinct. You developed your gift. So talk to us about this. So you have gift, then you acted on it, right? This intuition, you acted on it. And then what did you do with it? What was your first interaction with a career that made you even more realize this is what I'm going to be doing?
Yeah, so it really started in school, I would say, where, like I said, grew up in a somewhat prominent family in the town I was in at the time. My grandfather owned several businesses, and it was customary for the family to work in those businesses, right? Okay. I chose not to do that. I went away to college, and I was, it was leaving the uncomfortable place for me, right? I wanted to get away from the discomfort of the emotional and physical abuse that was possible at home, and that opened up a whole other world. And I don't know, I was fortunate enough, just in that sort of whatever that balancing scale is, to enjoy the new more than be comfortable with the old. And I went to university as an art student. And, I think we have to, these people, I think, are all around us. We just have to listen to them, right? It's easy to dismiss people, but I feel like we get signals all the time. I had a art history professor, and I was a studio art major, but I had an art history professor who said, I think you're a much better writer than you are a painter. Wow. And you might consider that. Now, sometimes when I tell people that story, they're like, oh my God, that's awful that she said that. Like, no, not at all, right? Like, I actually think she pointed me in the right direction. And certainly I could have been some sort of, design person or graphic designer or whatever in my career, or what have you. But she sent me on this other path that changed my major, that changed my engagement with the school newspaper, that gave me a path to graduate school, that brought me to New York, and at that time, magazines, which were these very exciting, slick, glossy things, and couldn't, even though you literally can see the skyline from the town I grew up in, New York could not be less like the town I grew up in.
Right. And then you got different opportunities after that got you deeper into where you are today.
Yeah.
And so would you say that your intuition, you being in tune with this self, call it a higher self as it is, because it is this something that's always been with you that you had to learn from somewhere or someone, or let's say, oh my gosh, I went to a meditation class and I saw it for myself, or is it something that you always have this knowing about, to have to listen to this? Like you said, your intuition led you to listen to that teacher who pointed you to that door. Have you not listened to this and paused for a minute and really take action, you and I probably wouldn't be talking. Right?
Again, to me, it comes down to a balance and just finding the way forward with a balance, right? So for me, it was a combination of confidence and self-doubt. And so the confidence would allow, if this makes sense, let's just give me a second.
I love that.
And so the self-doubt, which existed because of the way I was raised, right? Again,
Yes.
just sort of the constant barrage of emotional abuse, humiliation, all of that stuff always made me question myself. Am I doing the right thing? Is this what I should be doing? And yet I still had this piece of confidence that I think came from a few peripheral people in my life, that came from, my ability to be an artist or a writer, to always think, and I also have to say, in seeing in my grandfather, someone, a child of the Depression, who grew up and started his own companies, right, to think that, well, anything is potentially possible. So I kept having self-doubt about what I was doing, being a writer, being an editor, and also having that sort of what's possible sensibility, and that confidence to see through what's possible to getting what's possible done, that I became very entrepreneurial in journalism. And so I had a series of different positions. I went from working at brands like GQ and Esquire, to digital properties, to running a property that at that time belonged to the world's largest entertainment company that no longer exists now, Time Warner. That was a television show and a set of websites and a set of magazines. So always, building and building and building on those things, and being very entrepreneurial, to the point where you saw media landscape really dissolving, very challenged in the teens of the 2000s, and selling the business that I worked for Time Warner, and deciding I never wanted to go back to media.
Wow. That's a big statement.
Yeah.
Most people will be like,
it's just because,
why did you do that?
we saw how disrupted it became. Like, I didn't need a television studio in Midtown Manhattan to have a conversation like this. Yes. We can just have it together, right, in our two remote locations. Seeing all of that disruption made me less interested. And having done it for 20 years made me less interested. So I thought, I was going to participate in a growth equity fund with some partners. That fell through. I decided to become a consultant based on the philosophy we were going to use at the growth equity fund. I was a terrible consultant because I was a bad salesperson for myself and a worse bill collector. So the clients I would find couldn't pay me, and I'd be like, don't worry about it. So I went for a couple of years without collecting a single paycheck from the consulting business. But at the same time, using that entrepreneurial aspect of myself, I became a professor of marketing and entrepreneurship at university. Wow. I was the co-founder in a wellness startup that we would call, you might call, augmented meditation. So it was guided meditation, but with the addition of color psychology and sound therapy. Yes. Ultimately, my co-founder and I, we had a patent issued that I created for a content engine for that. We won a Global Innovation Day. Wow. At a Hilton. I'm sorry, at a hospitality business, a hotel chain. That would have potentially put us in 30,000 rooms, but ultimately, I didn't really get along with my co-founder. And so I left the business, not knowing what was next, but knowing I had
honest.
The business, I think, still exists, but hasn't really gone anywhere. But the couple of weeks after that, I got a call to come to run Inc. Business Media, which includes Inc. Magazine.
Wow.
And I thought, well, I have these decades of media experience. I have this entrepreneurial passion. I can get a regular paycheck without without the uncertainty of being an entrepreneur. Maybe this is what I should do. And once I met the audience, the people we talked to, the people feature, the people who were at the event where I met you, I just realized that this was the right thing, right? I'm much better, using those skills that I had, or those gifts that I had of storytelling, and helping other people tell their stories rather than going out and creating my own all the time.
It's just incredible. So you fit where you are right now in your life. And from that on, where are you expanding into? Because now you said, okay, I have a little bit of more comfort. I feel more secure, maybe financially or whatever that is. Now I can really focus on something that I always wanted to focus on, perhaps, and that is perhaps even more spiritual, or what it is for you that is beyond the aspect of business and linear thinking and job kind of relating, or career path, or even entrepreneurship. What is this for you? You being in this higher path, which is your spiritual path. What is this for you? What does it looks like, feels like, and what's the goal eventually?
Yeah. So for me, that came down to getting to a certain place, and still feeling a little bit of discomfort, if that makes sense, right? So having what by all outward measures might seem like great success, like I said, I have a child, I have a nice house, I have a job that people respect, and I'm able to help people in that job, but I still felt a hole in myself, and that actually, a couple of things coming together: meditation practice, spending time with a mentor and a group of founders on a retreat, sort of led me to decide that I'd gone as far as I could with traditional therapy, that it wasn't helping me that much anymore, that I still felt like there were some obstacles, mostly related around turning up as a better person, right? Like, so I've gotten this far, and I feel like all of the material things are there. Like, how do I just be a better person? How do I be more comfortable with myself? Because I still carried a lot of those messages of self-esteem and things like that with me, even despite the success. And that led me to pursue psilocybin therapy with
What did you say? Go back to the word.
Psilocybin therapy, so mushrooms, psychedelic therapy with with a therapist who had been practicing in the underground for 20 or 30 years. And I found that to be, for me, it depends on when you talk to me, and how recently I've had a journey and what that journey has been like. But I would say it's been expanding, enormously expanding. It has allowed me to drop my defenses, because I don't feel like, or because perhaps I feel like I am impervious. I don't need defenses. I've been, I think, able to be more generous with myself, and in being more generous with myself, being kinder with myself, I'm able to be that much more generous with other people. And so for me, that psychedelic journey, which yes, at times hints at scary, dark things, lovely, warm things, universes beyond the one we exist in, realms beyond the ones we exist in. All of these things are there, but I tend to use all of that just to try to make me, and total work in progress, right? I would never call myself a good person. I call myself a person who's getting better all the time. So that's how, that's to me the most important thing. How can I be less self-conscious, less self-aware, less ego-driven? And in that, how can I be a better person for others?
So, and thank you for sharing this. It's a big piece for you where you are transitioning right now.
Yeah.
It's huge, actually. So this is what helped you tremendously. And this is what really helped you to connect the dots. And it's still helping you.
Yeah.
And I think we live in the world where, where again, it's like people they want the quick fix. They want a quick fix. I don't even know that most people, they know that they want liberation at the end of the day. Because they're suffering so badly within, that I think they're so addicted to the suffering that when we talk about liberation for them, it's like, what are you talking about?
It can be scary,
can't even
right?
talk about liberation.
You're going to a place you don't know.
You can talk about liberation. So these aspects of that experience itself, what you're engaged with, those psychedelics experiences open up a consciousness that always exists, that's always been existed, but you're able to recognize it, see it for yourself. And when perhaps, and I'm not sure how that feels for you, because obviously it's such a personal experience with God itself, that when you have this inner eye at the heart of heart that opens up, in this universal consciousness that's always within, that's opening up, I wonder, is this why it's helping you now even more to be present, even more to be successful with others, and to have cut off this ego? Because clearly this is what I saw when I saw you. And by the way, it comes back to, yes, you're an alien. Is because aliens, well, we don't have, there is no ego there. There's no mind. Where is a mind, there is the ego. When there's no mind, there's no ego. And so those things that you're able to experience, be able to perhaps cut off the root of that ego. And when you come out of it, it still have this imprint that is beyond the mind, beyond the brain. And then you are now in this place where you're offering what you are truly, which is this being of light and bliss and pure consciousness, your true divine nature. And now you are that with no name. Now you are that. So whatever it is that you're doing in your life, you became this Buddha, this consciousness that is now healing others. And you don't even have to speak about it. You, with your raising your own vibration, you're now able to be this, which has no name.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth in that. I think by being less concerned about yourself, how other people are perceiving you, or what you're going to get out of this engagement, this meeting, this talking to someone else, by being less concerned about that, more organic things can develop. And I think also, by not having the ego there, by not worrying about, do I look thin enough while I'm having this conversation, or this person has more than me, how do I get that? Whatever it might be, by dropping those concerns, you can have more honest, interactions. And for me, and again, at work, one of the places that I feel most passionate about in what I do is helping people who don't have traditional paths to success in our society, who maybe are first generation, maybe first generation college, multi-generational wealth, helping those people, those founders in particular, let them know that there's someone who sees them on their journey. There are other people like them, and there are tools to go farther. So for me, this is somewhat like teaching at university too. Like, the reward isn't the paycheck. The reward is being able to help elevate everybody somehow, and in doing that, do the same for yourself.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Now,
What
I just have to say, like, I can talk this game really well. It's not like I'm like this every day, right? Like I said, I'm
Of
not
course.
like I'm getting better. I'm not a better person, right? I'm getting better every day.
Well, and I think that honesty about you sharing those very things, those very principles, brings forth that we are here simply to experience this thing called life. But ultimately, isn't it the purpose to really seek what we are? What are we here? Who are we? And so this question of who am I? What am I? There is really perhaps not even an answer to it. But by you having those experiences and sharing it, sharing your story, and you keep saying sharing story, sharing story, sharing story. The importance of that is the healing within itself. When you share your story with me right now, and the one that hopefully are really present, is that they also have a story to share. They also have this gift to share, whatever that is for them. And that we no longer have to hide behind the doubts and the fears and the concepts that were just in our head all along. They were not real. And so by you experimenting with yourself, you're discovering yourself, your true self. And now you're able to share from that place, that true state of being. And this is success in my ear. And this is truly what success is, because don't you feel liberated now?
Yeah,
Don't you
no
feel
question.
liberated
Yes,
to be
much
able
more
to be
comfortable.
you and showing up?
Yeah,
How
much
does
more
that
comfortable in
feel?
my
How
own
does
skin.
that feel?
Yeah, much more comfortable in my own skin. There's no question about that, right?
You were speaking about the liberation, that you are now in that state of liberation, and how does it feel? Because when we speak of the state of liberation, speaking from a place of no mind.
Yeah.
But the point that I'm trying to make is that you're very much successful. You're a very successful person, and you still have no ego. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a confusion out there that entrepreneurs need to have this, ooh, I'm so powerful, I'm going to impact the world, and, all these things. At the end of the day, of course, they're burned out and miserable. But so, I mean, in a sense, everyone really can have this liberation or happiness and still be successful, right?
I think so. For me, I define, or I think about it this way: there are going to be outcomes. Everything we do, there's going to be an outcome, and whether we perceive it as like amazing or utterly crushing, physically and mentally crushing, whatever it is, like we assign that value to it, that this outcome is good, this outcome is bad. And there's an opportunity without ego, without the need for personal gratification, to have the outcome. And yeah, sure, it's going to be, to the good or to the bad, but we can decide how much weight to give it if it's bad, or how much weight to give it if it's good. We can decide that our interactions with others should be positive instead of negative, that even if they're difficult conversations, there's something to be had here, right? All of these things I understand. Again, I'm saying I'm like by no means a master of practicing them, but there are observations I have and try with a fault, but try to keep in place, because I do think, yes, you can be a very successful entrepreneur and still be humble. You have to believe in yourself 100%. Do you have to convince people your solution is the right one? Yes, but you don't need to do that with a big hammer, say, right? Like a big mallet to hit them over the head with. There are other ways to do it. Do you need to convince your team that you're on the right path? Yes, but you can also, acknowledge and maybe bring them closer to you, that there are moments when you have doubts, but you're doing your best and think you can get there together, right? Likewise, on the other side with investors or consumers, consumers give businesses lots of grace when businesses are honest with them, when they admit, oh, we made a mistake, or, we didn't have enough of this, but we want to make good on it because we value you and the time you spent with us, right? And I think that's an exciting thing about entrepreneurship is, Steve Jobs was a brilliant guy, no question. Everyone thinks that, right? But everyone also thinks he was an asshole, right? But like, can you be the brilliant and be just as demanding in a way, but without the personal attacks, right? Or the sense of personal attack, because it's not often a personal attack, but you can still, Chip Conley, who's a founder, he was Brian Chesky at Airbnb's mentor. He runs something called the Modern Elder Academy now, which is a retreat for folks who are looking for that sort of how to redefine success for them more personally than in a business sense. But he says the CEO is the chief emotions officer. And I think he's absolutely right. It's like, yes, you're the chief executive, but you're also the person who impacts everyone else's mood around you. And do you want to leave everyone in a bad mood every day? Or do you want to lift them up? Because when it comes to entrepreneurship, right, we know this, there are ripples. Entrepreneurship creates ripples, right? That can create, first ripple is for you and your success, your family's success, like I mentioned before, intergenerational wealth, maybe your employees' success. But those ripples can also, be troughs, right? And if you're the chief emotional officer and you hit someone with the hammer, they carry that pain home with them. And they're likely to pass it on as well, right? So do you really want to be the person who's responsible for creating discontent in all of the families of all of the people who work for you, right? Like, that's not cool. You don't want to do that. I don't think you're a very sadistic person who has their own issues and we should want to help. It might do that. But I don't think any right-thinking person wants to do that. It's just that we don't think about that in particular.
We don't think about that in particular. It's a great statement because the thinking process is in the past already, right? Is the mind creating all these thoughts, which is gathering the thoughts, the programmings, and the why not, meaning what? We're just not present. So, I interview, for instance, Matt Higgins or Mark Cuban and all these incredible like yourself today. And it comes back to that one thing each time about success and happiness. And it is about ourselves alone. And it comes back to pointing the finger back at us. And how are we going to develop our sense of awareness of all of these things that create success and happiness that's already within ourselves? And so the message is so profound because it looks to me, Scott O, that your first experience in showing up here on this earth, it was traumas. And how cool is that we as a witness, for me as being a witness to this story, I can see how this trauma has full potential, was potentially the thing that really unlocked you. So that trauma, what a gift. What a gift to have welcomed the darkness to release your light, which is the self.
Right. It's an interesting thing, right? Like, if you could go back and change your life, would you? And
Exactly.
I have to say, I don't think I would. Like, as painful as those moments might have been, they've created the person I'm able to be today. And I think I can offer a lot more as I am today because of that. So it's hard, right? Yeah, certainly there were some beatings that I could have done without.
Oh my goodness, you laugh about it, which is enlightenment itself. You're laughing about this, it's enlightenment itself, guys. I mean, this is incredible.
The memories there, the actual pain is gone, so that's good. But yeah, I would like not to have had those experiences. I would, hope that it would have been nice to have the experience I believe I'm creating for my own child now. He'll have his own traumas, though, regardless of how hard I try to create a good life for him. But ultimately, once the rough or sharp edges of that experience are sanded or worn down, I think I'm better for having had them.
You're definitely very aware, my friend. The alien is coming out right now. So there is a big deal right now in the world about meditation, right? So I'm jumping into sharing the gentleman that is actually sponsoring the Mystical Mavericks show. His name is Dr. Porter, and Dr. Porter, Patrick Porter, he speaks all over the world, obviously, about mind. And the discovery that is made even when he was a child is that the brain actually is the seat of the mind, and that the brain has all this wiring, right? This system, this internet, if you will, that if it's not unlocked, it doesn't fire up very well. So that we have a lack of sleep, a lack of success, and the list goes on. Even a lack of relationship sometimes, or what it is the brain needs to be fired up. So this gentleman, who's a dear friend of mine, created this, and you might heard of it. It's called BRAINTAP. And BRAINTAP, you simply, it's a headset, and you simply listen to those sound vibration. And then they also have, which is great, it mimics nature itself. So this 432 hertz frequency that is nature is mimicked by this headset. And so when you basically turn it on, there is a lot of lights frequency, which is vibration. And with that, he set it up with words and meditative and music and why not. And so this is fabulous for anyone who wants to recover in a sleep, because we find out that in America, we don't sleep. we don't sleep.
We're adversarial to sleep. That's certainly true.
So if anyone is watching this, try BRAINTAP, and they have an app, and why not? And I think you've also had that as a business. So you're very much aware and understand that power of helping ourselves. Sometimes we need this little push. Not everybody can just sit and then go in nirvana, So you need this little push. And this is a very simple concept, and a very practical for entrepreneurs or anyone who is on a path of success to use it daily. And it's an amazing headset. So, and so you practice meditation as well. And it is something that you do maybe daily or not, or so what is an entrepreneur can do? And I know you have just 5 minutes left. What can an entrepreneur do with this? Is this something that they have to take a class, or can they just, maybe follow you and maybe you teach it? I'm not sure.
I don't teach it, but for me, I started out using the Headspace app, right? Like that's how I got into it, and I used that before I entered into the business I had with the guided meditation, where we'd have very well-known meditation coaches create meditations for different experiences, and using the sound frequencies to achieve very different goals. Often that was, anxiety, sleep, right? All of the things that plague us most and our life, potentially life-shortening, productivity, crimping, economically problematic for us as a nation, right? So while we think we're being productive without sleep, we're actually costing the economy billions of dollars. Wow. So for me, I just started out using a guided meditation app, just like someone could start with BRAINTAP, and go from there. I find for me that it allows me, that thing I talked about, like they're going to be outcomes, and I assign the values to them. It is one of the things that helps me understand that. It is one of the things that helps me get back to sleep when I wake up worried about something in the middle of the night, and I could be going crazy with all of the noise and conversations in my head, but just sort of coming back to the experience I have as a meditator, I can just remind myself of how to sort of just like drop all of that away and go. I think it takes away the the extraneous noise to let me be more thoughtful at work or in a relationship or more creative. So I'm a big, big believer that we would all benefit from a little quiet in all the noise that we have in our lives.
Do you know how powerful this message is, what you just said? This is the most powerful message that, I mean, you've gone through this journey to find out this truth. And can you imagine, Scott, the purpose that you have and the journey ahead for you? I mean, this is incredible. I mean, this is the nectar of all success. And now that you have it and you have consumed it and you actually experiment with it and then you know it, you can, I mean, sharing this. This is what changed the world. And so I'm just in awe because I'm just so excited of what it will come for you from that place of consciousness that you're in. And saying that, and we have 3 minutes left, what is next for you? What do you have in your back pocket that you wanted to, make it an explosion in the world? What is that? So beautiful.
I don't know about that, but I do want to say being able to have a conversation like we've had today is actually incredibly valuable to me, because it allows me to, remind myself of the lessons I've learned, the things that can get brushed aside when you get to the office and there's, a crisis. So being able to have a conversation like this, I hope it has value for other people who listen.
Are you serious?
But I also, am grateful because it has a real impact on me and how I'll conduct the rest of my day. So thank you for that.
Oh, Scott, I mean, I hope you see what I see and how enlightened you are. You're so beautiful. I hope there's no hope. Just go on enjoying this space you're in, this pure consciousness that you are. Now it's your to enjoy. There's nothing to do for you. Like, just whatever you do, the doing is already done. Like, enjoy this place you're in. I mean, can you imagine all what you've been achieved mentally, spiritually, physically, financially, and everything all at once? And now you're able to enjoy this nectar, this ocean, and with your son.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Yeah, that's pretty special.
I mean, come on. Just so I'm the one who's so grateful for you. And I was when I first met you, to be quite honest. And now I'm trying not to tear up because it's not an emotion. It's just a beautiful, loving experience that I have with you. And I want to cherish this and to share this with others. That's the gift.
Thank you so much.
I love you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Many blessings. Divine love. Divine love. Everyone, divine love. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Scott. Oh, Scott. Scott. Oh, Scott. Oh, it's a mantra. Oh, Scott. Oh, wow. Wow.
Never-ending mantra.
To be continued.
All right. Thank you so much.
Much love, my love. Yes, of course.
I had a nice time. It was great.
Yeah. And the wisdom of this show, this episode, this sharing, this connection that revealed itself through Scott's presence and how he was able to discover his passion, his purpose from childhood. And when you heard, the trauma that it had to go through, you also heard that, of course, it was painful, but in realization later on that all of this trauma was a gift. All of this was a gift. So if you are watching this show, this episode, this sharing, this connection, this wisdom, know that whatever that you're going through in your life, whether it is physical, spiritual, work-related, purpose-related, spiritual, it has to do with pointing you towards your own higher self, to align you where you need to go. And sometimes, like you said, it said, be honest. It was so beautiful. Say, be honest with yourself. And it's a difficult thing to do, because sometimes we just have to rip off this Band-Aid and look at the seed that's within. And we discover that, well, what's in there? What's within? This pain that we're feeling, those emotions, all of those things that a lot of time the mind is wrapped up into, that create the environment we're in, right? So in this conversation, it was incredible because it was revealed that, change your association, be honest with yourself, be compassionate with others. And it's so much what share, but what stood up to me was this honesty about where we are on the path, on the journey, to stop, to be quiet, to meditate. To meditate is to be honest. When you sit and close your eyes and be quiet. And so, there is so many tools out there that we can use. I mentioned BRAINTAP, the technology BRAINTAP. Use things that will serve you and let go of the things that don't serve you. Although to realize, when you reach a certain awareness and realization, you realize then that all of it served you to get where you need to be, which literally you are exactly where you're supposed to be, no matter what the goal you have. But if you really had that desire and the pursuit of this happiness, this success, build that confidence, develop your intuition. And the one key that cannot be avoided, no matter if you don't like it or not, it is to sit in meditation. Meditation means no mind. To sit for quiet, be quiet for that 1/2 second where you can see within. You can turn your eyes within and see the being that you are. So you can free the thoughts and all these things that were holding you back, the fears, the doubt, the self-doubt, the voices in your head that says you're not good enough, you're not smart enough. How are you going to survive if you're not smart enough? Well, I guess what? When you turn yourself within and you see what you are, well, then you'll discover how special you are. So I've been so blessed with this conversation that it's such a gift now to share with you. And when you listen to this, pause. If there's something that you hear, pause and listen it again and again and again until it's not just stick intellectually, but also at the heart space. Because this is where all the learning starts, the real direct knowledge starts and ends at the heart. So let it be at the heart. Let it resonate in your life. And take those actions that is going to serve you along the way. And know that you already are successful. If you sit quiet, you realize that you already have success, that you were the key all along. And so we are so thankful for Scott O, the editor-in-chief of Inc. magazine, to have show up in this beautiful bright light, in his truth, so humble. So with that, my friend, have an amazing rest of your journey until we meet and see each other again. Peace, peace, peace. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Om. Thank you for being here and being you.
You have just listened to another enlightening episode of Mystical Mavericks. Please visit mysticalmavericks.com for additional resources and to learn more about our mentorship, giveaways, and gatherings. Be sure to subscribe and share so you don't miss the next episode of Mystical Mavericks.